Welcome back to Leave Pits Live. Thanks for staying with us. This is Closing Arguments. My name's Joseph North, and this is Attorney Joe North. And so what we're going to be talking about on this segment is hurricane claims. And just to add a little bit of context, could you touch on just the effect that Hurricane Ian's had on this nation and specifically the Southwest Florida community?
Yes, so, we've all lived with and suffered through one of the worst hurricanes in United States history, and that's Hurricane Ian that happened back on September 28th of 2022. That affected all of us in different ways, personally, business-wise, community-wise, and what we're here today to do is just talk about how the law applies to some of those hurricane property damage claims and answer some of the questions that may be in your mind. So if you can start out for us, please.
Sure. When it comes to a hurricane claim, part of the reason why there's so many and why they arise is because the insurance companies aren't doing what they're supposed to do and what they're obligated to do. And if you're an insurance policy holder, meaning if you have homeowners insurance, renter's insurance, commercial business insurance, even car insurance, what's supposed to happen is when you pay your premium, the insurance company then has you covered and they have your back in the event that anything happens and you suffer property damage. Unfortunately, that is rarely the case. And what we're seeing a lot of is people who had some sort of insurance that covers for hurricane damage. Of course, Hurricane Ian came and ravaged folks' property, but the insurance companies are either denying claims or undervaluing claims. So they're saying, you don't really have the property damage that we know you have, or they're limiting coverage or not providing any coverage at all. So what we do as people who represent clients with hurricane claims is we make sure that clients get maximum value for all the property damage they've suffered. And so a lot of times when people get letters back or even checks in the mail from their insurance companies, it might be a check for $3,000, but they have $30,000 worth of damage. So we help make sure that they get the maximum value and the full coverage for everything they bargained for when they were paying those premiums. And one thing I'd like to communicate especially is the moment a hurricane hits or a storm hits, there are things that you can do as someone who has insurance to improve your claim immediately. That can be before the rain or wind even stops. And the first thing you can do is make sure you have evidence. So what is evidence in the context of a hurricane claim? Taking pictures. It could be with a fancy camera, it can be with a camera phone. It's keeping receipts for any expenses that you incur as a result of the hurricane. It can even be as simple as having a piece of loose leaf paper and writing down the damage that you're suffering. And so these are all sorts of things that you can do as a policyholder to improve the chances that you're able to recover the maximum value for your claim. And part of what we do is to make sure that the insurance company is held accountable and honors the obligations that they have. And when they don't honor it, that's called bad faith. And maybe you want to speak a little bit to what bad faith is in the hurricane insurance context, but really broader, what bad faith is when insurance companies engage in it.
Yeah, so bad faith, really, it sounds simple, but it can be complex. An insurance company, they've got a fiduciary responsibility or duty to you, the consumer, the insured. That means that they have to do what they're supposed to do in paying out these claims and not try to shortchange you. And if they are found guilty of bad faith, meaning that they are not paying the claims that they should be paying, then there are consequences to that. Consequences in terms of sanctions, attorney's fees, maybe sometimes even revocation of their license to issue insurance policies in the state of Florida. So bad faith scares the insurance companies. And if we can accumulate evidence to show that they've committed bad faith, that's all to your benefit because we can make them pay sooner and pay the full value.
And I want to touch a little bit more on bad faith, specifically in the context of these hurricane cases, because you're absolutely right. It's a breach of the fiduciary duty. And with these hurricane cases, a lot of times we see, and you might have experienced this as a policyholder, they'll hire an adjuster to come out to your home and you're telling them about your leaky roof and they're keeping their eyes to the floor. Or you're telling them about, all the floor damage that you've received as a result of flooding, and they refuse to even go inside. These are things that we hear on a daily basis. And this is bad faith on the part of the adjuster that is then attributed to the insurance company. Another thing that you might experience as a policyholder is what I call the musical chairs of adjusters. And that's when you call the insurance company on Monday and Mary answers and says, I'm handling your claim. And then on Wednesday you call Mary and they say, oh, Mary's not handling your claim anymore. Now Robert's handling your claim. And the same thing keeps happening to stall the facilitation of you actually getting the funds and the compensation you're owed for your damage. So when these things happen, sometimes still on the part of bad faith, insurance companies won't respond at all. You're just leaving voicemails or you're not getting responses to emails. So this is all bad faith that we account for and we consider when we're putting pressure on the insurance company saying, hey, not only have you breached your contract, not only have you undervalued the claim, but you've also engaged in a number of instances of bad faith. And when they receive that correspondence, whether it's in the form of a letter, a notice of intent to initiate litigation, it could be in the form of a lawsuit from our office, they know that we're serious and that they're gonna have serious exposure if they don't do the right thing. And another thing I want to touch on is Hurricane Ian hasn't just gotten the attention of, the insurance companies and policyholders, but it's also gotten the attention of Florida's legislature. And as some of you guys might be aware, on January 1st, 2023, a new law went into place. And before I kind of get into some of the nitty-gritty of the law, do you want to talk a little bit about just the context of why the Florida legislature felt the need to even enact new legislation?
Yes, so because of Hurricane Ian, 6 major insurance companies actually left the state of Florida. They said that they will not write property damage insurance in the state of Florida anymore. And that comes on the heels of, we know that nationwide, of all of the property damage claims that are filed with insurance companies, we're talking nationwide, 75% of those claims are where? Right here in Florida. So what the insurance companies have done is they've lobbied Tallahassee saying that they are not able to make any money and that they're actually going in the hole. Therefore, the law needs to be changed. And I'll let you talk about this new law in a minute, but let me tell you out there who is hearing this and seeing this, don't buy that for a minute that the insurance companies are losing money. Insurance companies are not losing money, but they're trying to make more money by getting better laws to suit them. But go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. And part of the law that has been changed to suit insurance companies is that whereas before someone whose property had been the victim of a hurricane, they had a full 2 years to file a claim. And if your home's been damaged or you've been affected, you know that when a hurricane hits, your entire world's upside down. And it might take a year, 18 months, maybe more than 2 years to get back on your feet enough where you can even have the wherewithal to file a claim. But now you don't have 2 years, you have only 1 year. So if you have damage as a result of Hurricane Ian, after September 28th, 2023, you can't file that claim anymore as a result of the new law. In addition, there are some aspects of the law that are intended to help facilitate the quick resolution of some of these claims. Whereas before, the insurance company had 2 weeks, 14 days to even acknowledge your claim. Now the law requires the insurance companies to acknowledge policyholders and clients' claims within 1 week, 7 days. And that's also the same new timeline as far as when an adjuster comes out and gives the insurance company the report, the insurance company can't hold on to the report and not show you anymore. They have to, rather than having 2 weeks to show it to you, they must provide it to you in 1 week. Also important, in the past, the insurance companies had 45 days, that's a month and a half, to begin investigating the property damage. Now that's down to a month. So our hope is that the insurance companies will actually abide by these shorter timelines. And part of our job and what we do is to hold them accountable. So when it's that 31st day or that 15th day, sometimes even on the 7-day timeline, I'm corresponding with them on the 2nd or 3rd day to let them know that when the 8th day comes, we're going to be knocking and it's not going to be friendly. So a lot of times, that's sort of the correspondence we have with the insurance company, and these are the new laws that have been in place as a result of the really historic Hurricane Ian and the effect it's had on Southwest Florida. And so that is our hurricane segment. But please stay tuned to closing arguments on Leave Pits Live, because we're going to come back and tell you all about personal injury law.
Has your home, business, or any of your personal property been damaged or lost? I'm Attorney Joe North.
And I'm Attorney Joseph North. Our family is fighting for you and your family in the wake of a storm to make sure you get the maximum value for all your repairs, replacements, and expenses.
So if you have suffered any property damage or injury as a result of a storm, call us today at the North Law Firm to make sure you get the full compensation you deserve.
And you pay nothing unless we recover for you.